I suppose. Getting back into filming and vlogging has been harder than I expected, but in general, getting back into a creative process has been harder than I expected. Trying to start this vlog has been extremely hard, but here we are in January, and I really have some things I want to work on. I want to work on a potential poetry collection. I want to work on a short story submission, and I really want to get back into drafting my vampire project because I would like to get back into my mermaid edits after that. So I have a lot of goals this year, and I mean, I'm not like terrible, right? Like, we're only just starting January, but is a mental block about getting started again and like the newness of the year and all the potential. And sometimes I think that's overwhelming. So, yeah, starting this vlog, starting writing has been very difficult. And I'm kind of waiting for some news to come. I did a couple submissions last year that I would not know about the status of until this year in January. Now, some of these I submitted like way long ago, like back in October. Some I submitted in December, but ultimately I am waiting on those news. So, yeah, let's just journey together. Let's see how this goes, and let's find that good creative flow once more, because I want 2024 to be a good year, even if that means I'm not submitting a lot, even if that means I'm not querying. I want to have great creative outputs in some way. So, with that said, we're going to start a vlog and we're going to see how it goes. And I'm going to take you along with me. But just know, if you're also kind of feeling the burnout, the drag of the new year, you're not alone. And it can be difficult, especially if you like me, I took a break from like a lot of creative endeavors like writing and video making in the last 2 weeks of the year in 2023. And I think that mentality has just been sticking with me, and now it's making me second guess a lot of things. So yeah, if you're feeling that way too, plus I'm living in extremely cold temperatures. It's started to snow more up in the northern states. So if you're also in a cold, dark place physically, I know that can be a lot on your mental health too. So yeah, we're gonna kick this in the dust. We're gonna find our creative passions again, and we're gonna work on some writing materials. So let's see where we go. So I got an email at like 2 this morning. It was very early, and I have pretty much waited 12 hours to open this email. The willpower is strong, but we're gonna see if my short story has been rejected or accepted. I'm very much assuming it's gonna be rejected. It's definitely probably not the most polished work I've done, but I was really proud of the story. But I do think it's gonna be rejected. But let's watch a live reaction, shall we? Rejected. I knew it. They don't really give you any information on it, which is sad, but I did assume that it was going to be rejected. I also did an oopsie, and I accidentally submitted it to the wrong editor. Like, the submission thing is the whole thing, you know, but like I addressed my cover letter to the wrong editor because I was like panicking as I was submitting it to meet the deadline. I don't think that played a huge factor, but yeah, it's rejected. As I mentioned, I knew it was gonna be. So I already kind of filmed a clip about me opening my email. And in the time that I did Vlogmas and I ended that, and now, which is January 10th today, I did submit a short story and it was rejected. I didn't think it was actually quite there, and I knew that when I submitted it, but I didn't really have a direction of how I wanted to change it and edit it. But I did get some feedback today that really helped me, and I shot a couple emails back and forth with the woman who was helping me with this brainstorm, and I feel like really solid about where I'm gonna take it next. So I feel like the direction is opening up and getting better, but I am probably gonna have to do like another 2 or 3 more drafts of it until I figure out where I want to submit it next. But I'm glad I don't have the pressure of submitting it on a deadline right now, because I do think I'll have time to make it stronger. So yeah, that's been pretty much my life. Yesterday I had writing club. We were supposed to have it on Mondays. It got a little bit wonky. There was an accidental schedule double booking. So we moved it to Tuesday, and then the weather's been really crappy. So we did it virtually online, and it was great. I actually did some poetry things, but I didn't take any like B-roll or anything like that because I completely forgot. It was literally like the last like 20 minutes, I think, or the last 10 minutes of the sprint. And I was like, oh my God, I could have been taking B-roll this whole time. But I just didn't do it. So I think for the most part, we are up to speed on where I've been at the last couple weeks. The only additional thing that I will mention is I did 2 critiques. One was a short story critique that took me several hours. I had somebody was like talking to me in one of the writing groups and then asked if I would be able to read it for them. And I was like, well, it might take away from my own stuff, but I wasn't really working on my own stuff. So I said, sure. It was a lot longer and a lot more work than I thought it was going to be. It took me like 6 to 7 hours to do the full critique. I think I gave like 6 pages of notes back. So I am very thorough, but it does not do well when I don't anticipate it. Because this person was like, oh, it should be like a 20-minute read. They do not know me very well, and yeah, it took me forever. So I did submit that to them, and I am done. I did tell them they can ask me questions as far as follow-ups go, but like I'm done with that critique, thankfully. And then I'm doing another critique on an adult romance novel, which I'm having a lot of fun with. I've been trying to do at least 1 chapter per day, and honestly, I've been doing them at work. So I will, on like my lunch break, I normally have an hour. So as long as I'm caught up with all my notes, I'll do a little bit of reading while I'm at work. And it's been nice because I've had a lot of cancellations this week. So I have not a lot of work to do because again, I'm pretty much always on top of my stuff. So I have been reading, and that's been really helpful to balance so that I'm kind of looking productive when I'm sitting there, but 2, like I feel productive because I'm getting other work done. And I'm not just sitting there scrolling on my phone, looking up random websites, because sometimes I'll just like click buttons to do something. So yeah, that has been how we have been doing the new year so far, but it is the 10th. I am feeling ready to get back into the swing of writing, and I am back into the swing of vlogging, hopefully. So with that said, tonight is going to be very chill. It's already 7 o'clock, and I'm going to be meeting with Autumn to do some Tolkien planning. So last year, if you guys have been around, you might know that we have a Tolkien book club called the Autumn Breeze Book Club. It is a play on our names, clearly. And we read The Hobbit and the trilogy, Lord of the Rings. So this year, we're going to dive into a lot of the like world building stuff. So the Silmarillion, and some of the other ones that I can never remember the names of because they're not ones that are like well known, and like, you know, like other people know Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, but like these are like the extended world building stuff now, and we're gonna read them all. We're gonna do 5 this year, but we just don't know the order and the dates. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to pick the first 3 book club dates. We're going to try to change it up as far as like maybe do one like a Saturday afternoon, one like an evening on a Monday night, stuff like that. Whatever works with me and Autumn's schedules, because we're both going to be very busy this year and we both want more people to be able to join the book club. So we're going to do that, and we're going to schedule the first half of the year. So then we can kind of reconvene and see for the rest of the year if the times we picked worked or if we need to pull everyone and see what else works. So we're gonna do that. I'm gonna be jumping on soon with her, and then honestly I may just do video games for the rest of the night with my husband because I want to spend a little bit more time with him, and I feel like I've been like my brain has been so all over the place. Like there's so many goals I want to accomplish that I'm a little bit overwhelming myself, and like it's only 10 days into the new year, so I'm like I gotta take a step back. But I do have a lot of like upcoming events, and I think that's why I'm a little overwhelmed. So anyway, yes, here we are, another vlog, another rambly mess of a author tuber you're getting. But welcome to 2024, guys. Welcome to a new year of YouTube and writing and books. And let's see where we get in this vlog. is Sunday, January 21st, and this has been a really weird month for me. I feel like the last couple of years, January has always been very trying. And this year, it's not so much like physically trying, but I do think it has definitely been a little bit more mentally trying for me. And I'm struggling doing vlog content, and I'm struggling writing. And I can't really put my finger on it, but I do think because I have so many goals with writing, and some imposter syndrome has been there, but also like fear of failure, but not in like the general sense, I guess, but more so that like I want to do so many things and I want to get so far with my writing career, hopefully. You know, it's very, very sparse right now. I have 2 publications, which is great, but they are minor publications, and I want to publish more short stories. I want to publish poetry. I want to publish novels. And some of that is out of my control, you know? So I don't know if I've just been in my head a lot, but this particular month has been just in a weird place. And the best thing I could say is I've been feeling stuck. And this week in particular, I have tried so many things to get unstuck. On Monday night, I went to book club, and we had a really good book club discussion. And then afterwards, I stayed with my friend, and we did like a rage and rest session where we just hung out and we like screamed and let out all of our energy. And then we did some grounding after that. And my friend was saying that she's like, I do feel like this sense of like stuckness in you. And I was like, yeah, but I felt pretty good. And then Tuesday we had a snowstorm, so I ended up taking a half day and I cleaned my house, and I was like, that's gonna make me feel mentally better. And then Tuesday went really, really well. And by the time I got home, that feeling of stuckness hit me again. And then like every day I kept thinking like, this is gonna be the day I'm gonna feel better. And then I would get home and feel this like lethargy. And I just don't know why, you know? I even had like a panic attack, and I was like overthinking and having such bad anxiety over like silly things that I actually had no problem with. Like I was creating problems to like create a problem because I couldn't get this stuck feeling outside of myself. Like I wanted it to be gone and I couldn't. So things that like would have caused me a problem in the past that weren't really a problem were like giving me pause and giving me issues, and I was like causing problems for myself for no reason. But with all that said and done, this past Monday, I was supposed to get news. So basically, I don't even remember, this probably was in a vlog at some point, but I submitted some poetry to an anthology back in October. And the anthology was taking submissions and through December 31st. So it was open for quite a few months, I believe. And I put it in October, and I've been waiting. And for the most part, I was like, fine. I like followed the press on social media, and I kind of put it out of my mind. But then they announced that they were going to be sending acceptance or rejection letters on Monday. And for an entire week, I've been waiting now. And it's like kind of obsessive. Like I think like I've just been like waiting to see where it goes, what's going to happen. And of course, with much of life, things got delayed on the publisher's part, and they hadn't sent anything out. So if you can't tell, I'm super nervous because I got the email. I saw it come in my inbox, and I've been sitting on it for about an hour, and I'm just like starting to get so anxious and so nervous. And like it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter at the end, like if it does get accepted or rejected. Like I put myself out there and I tried, but there is just something with my poetry because it's so personal, especially this particular anthology. If I was to get accepted, it's super personal. So there's like a lot of weight on it. And I just don't know. If I get rejected, it's gonna be, you know, we're gonna move on. It's whatever. If I get accepted, that's amazing. But I'm just so stuck, and I do think part of this stuckness is like I've been waiting on this news for a while, and now it's here. So I don't know if I'm gonna regret this or not, but I think I'm gonna open it while I sit here with you guys on camera. Okay, here we go. I got accepted. Oh my god. Oh my god. What did I get oh my god. I got two poems accepted. Holy shit. I can't even believe this right now. Oh my god. I really thought it was gonna be a rejection. Oh my god. I'm debuting my pen name. Holy shit, guys. I'll come back when I'm more coherent. Hi guys. So it is the next day. It's January 22nd, and truthfully, I'm feeling pretty good today. Amazing, right? So I figured I was a little bit calmer and in a better, like, non-shocked state to be able to chat briefly about my poetry that got accepted. So I don't know how much I want to share. I'm just, it's hard because I'm embarking on a new journey now with something that, as I mentioned, has been very personal. And poetry for me has always been my go-to outlet. It is the first foray I have ever gotten into as a writer. I started writing poetry in 5th grade as a way to have fun. And very quickly, as my life took off and you know, shit happened, I used it as a way to cope and process and heal. So a lot of my poetry is extremely personal in some sort of way. There's very few poems that aren't directly attached to me in some way, as in, like, you know, I recently started trying to do more speculative poetry, which is completely outside my element. And as much as I enjoyed like the 2 or 3 I tried to write, it's definitely not something that comes as naturally to me as my actual nonfiction poetry. As such, I think that's why I had such a hard time dealing with some of the rejections, which, like I said, you know, some of the rejections make a lot of sense. It's either not like what they were going for in that issue, or it's not the type of poetry they accepted, and so that's totally fair, but it always stung a little bit harder for my poetry rejections. So when I got this and it was accepted, 2 things hit me at once. One was that, oh my god, my poetry got accepted, and that means someone, like, heard, you know, like, almost like I was like, I felt validated in some ways of like, oh, like the heart and soul I'm putting into my poetry does matter, right? People do want to read it. The second thing is that this anthology that I submitted to is extremely personal, and it is something that I have been exploring more. Like, the theme and the topics are something I've been exploring more in my own poetry, coming to terms with some things, understanding like the near misses I had, the not so near misses, the issues I've had with other people in relationships and men. And it's been a lot to process, you know, which is why this anthology meant a lot to me, but it took me a long time to also do it, because I had to grapple with, again, some imposter syndrome, some gaslighting myself, and some invalidating myself issues, which I was not really expecting, and I'm still struggling with it, to be honest. But yeah, so I am excited to be in this anthology, and I guess I can announce it now because it's going to be announced. But the small publishing house is called Beyond the Veil Press, and they specifically focus on mental health poetry, and I think short fiction as well, but the poetry is really what my bread and butter is, obviously, in this category. And the edition that they were calling out for was a specific survivors anthology edition, and that is what I put forth. And 2 of my 5 poems I submitted were accepted, and they are 2 of my strongest poems, and also like mean a lot to me, obviously. So yeah, I'm both excited and really nervous to put my poetry out there, but again, it was incredibly validating, and also I'm still grappling with some of the internal struggles I have. So I'm very honored to be a part of this anthology, and I can't believe that my poems are going to be out there officially. Like, that's fucking wild.
So I will probably be posting teasers here and there on my Instagram, maybe on TikTok, depending on like how it goes, and I'll talk more about the process on my YouTube videos. But yeah, so there's that. And briefly, I did mention, I think in my delirium that I mentioned I was going to be debuting my pen name, and that is true. So I had gone back and forth on whether or not I wanted to have a pen name for my poetry specifically, but also I decided that if I'm gonna write something outside of the sci-fi fantasy horror, that I want to lump like contemporary romance and poetry all together, because I think that makes sense in my head for the break. So I am going to be publishing under a pen name, and I will just share that now and I'll put it on the screen, but it's gonna be B. Lapka. So if you didn't know, like the name that I'm using currently, Bree Buonomo, is also a sort of pen name, and I wanted the next pen name to be different from this one, but I still wanted it to have some meaning. So I did post a poll like months ago on my Instagram regarding like pen names and what sounded good, and B. Lapka was kind of tied with another one, but I ended up gravitating towards this one the most in the end and went with that. So B, spelled B-E-A, is obviously a play on the initial of my name that I use here, Bree. I figured it sounded similar enough, and initially I was thinking about doing B period, but then I was like, well, B is kind of cute and sweet, and it just sounds really nice, and it's similar. It's basically the letter but spelled out nicer, you know? So I figured I'd go with B just because it's similar to Bree. That's pretty much it for the B. But the Lapka part is a family name, and that is something that is near and dear to me in some ways, especially with my Polish heritage. So I decided to reclaim that surname and use that for my poetry, contemporary romance. So that's a little briefing on how I made my pen name for this. I also think it makes sense too, because B. Lapka, like I said, it is kind of personal, and my poetry is very personal, so I figured debuting with that makes the most sense. But yeah, we're here. So I have a lot to think about and a lot to do. I don't think there's really gonna be editing on this. They pretty much said that they wanted to take the poems as is with maybe minor editing, but I think like the next step is going to be seeing the draft of the anthology and making sure everything looks right, which is kind of crazy. That means it's like gonna be fast. So I'll keep you guys up to date. But in the meantime, with that said, I have renewed vigor for writing, but specifically poetry, which means over the next couple days, I am going to be editing some more poetry and figuring out what I want to do, whether I want to make this into a manuscript, whether I'm going to submit it, whether I'm going to use it for my own publishing journey. I don't know, but I'm going to be working on some more poetry. And with that said, I'm probably going to end the vlog here, even though not much vlogging has vlogged, you know? But I feel comfortable with what we chatted about. And like I said, even though it's this 22nd of January, I feel finally like things are kicking back into gear. So I feel like the next vlog is actually going to be more like, let's dive in, let's write some things, let's get things together and chat about my process. So with that said, thank you guys for hanging out with me in this chaotic New Year vlog. But I feel like it wouldn't be me without that. And I am excited to see where this year is going. I mean, clearly we're already off to a good start, and I have new writing credits to celebrate, which is awesome. And I will keep you guys updated with all the details on the anthology, but I do hope if you like poetry, you will support the anthology itself, because it's super important. And also then you get to support me too. So, okay, I'm gonna shut up now and go do the writing things I said I was gonna do. So with that said, thank you for sticking around. Thank you for supporting me. And until next time, I'll see you then.